Hey, Carl Franklin here from Blazor Train and the Blazor Puzzle. I wanted to take a minute and show you how I use ChatGPT to help me do things I might not be familiar with. In this case, I'm going to build a Windows Forms app using a DevExpress Chart control, and I want to plot some data and take some measurements and do some other things. So even if you're not using Windows Forms, this is a good demo of how to use ChatGPT to help you write code. All right, so you can see I've got a new Windows Forms app here. It's going to be a .NET 8 app. Now, I've already gone through the process of installing the DevExpress tools. And if you haven't done that yet and you're a DevExpress customer, follow this URL right here. Now let's talk about data. Now you can see I've got a data text file, and this is just numbers on each line. And you can see most of them are zeros, but I have some curves here and some errant values. And so what I want to do is plot those on a chart. So the first thing we need to do is make sure we have the DevExpress tools installed. And how I'm going to do that is go to my NuGet packages. So I'm going to set the package source to DevX because that's the source that I've created for my DevExpress feed. And I'm going to look for Win Charts. DevExpress Win Charts, just like that. And install that. Next, let's look at the toolbox. And you can see all my DevExpress stuff right here. So I'll just search the toolbox for chart. Here's the chart control right there. And I'll just drag one on the form. And I'm just going to dock it by setting the dock property to fill. And it's called chart control 1, and that's fine. All right. So now at least I know how to load the data file. So let's do that. I'm going to create a list of integers, data equals new. And now I'm going to load that data from the file on the desktop. There's the file name right there. So first, let's use the using statement, system IO. Now I'm going to create a string array from each of the lines in that file. Now, there's a bunch of ways that I could go about this, turning that into a list of int. But now I'm going to go consult ChatGPT and see what it thinks is the best way to do it. What is the best way in C# to convert a string array of numerical values into a list of int? All right, so I don't need to read the explanation. What it's suggesting is to use link by saying string array.select, whatever my array is, .select int.parse to list. So I like that. That is really the only thing that I need right here. There, data equals array.select int parse to list. Now let's just put a breakpoint here and make sure that at least that works. And data has 500 values. That looks good, and it looks like they're accurate. Okay. Now we can move on. So the next thing I want to do is plot these 500 values across the x-axis on the y-axis, right? So x will be 1 to 500, and the y will be the values going from 0 up to whatever. Okay, so let's ask ChatGPT how we'd go about this. I have a Windows Forms app in .NET 8 with a DevExpress Chart control. how can I plot a list of 500 int values on the chart control? To plot a list of 500 integer values on a DevExpress Chart control in a Windows Forms application using .NET 8, you'll need to follow these steps. Now, this is one thing you should get used to. Every answer in ChatGPT starts with rephrasing your question. The process involves creating a data source for your values and setting up the chart control to display the data. Ensure DevExpress is installed. We have done that. Add a chart control to your form. Already done that. Prepare your data. Have your list of 500 int values ready. I've done that. Set up the data source. You need to convert your list of integers into a format that can be understood by the chart control. Typically, you would create a collection of objects that the chart can interpret. Here's an example of how you might set up your data. All right, so it has setup chart here. So I've already done this. I'm going to convert the list of ints into a bindable format. List of data point. All right. So let's start with this code right here. Okay, so we don't yet know what data point is, but we do know that my values is data. So let's replace that. And now let's go look at ChatGPT and try to figure out what he means by data point. Okay. Right there. Public class data point, argument and value. So we'll add that class here. Okay, and so this is prepare data to be charted. Now let's go back here, and this is the code that creates a series from this data and then adds it to the chart control. So let's just take that first. So it looks like we're creating a new series, which is, a DevExpress thing. And this is the name of it, and then the type, and it's line, because we want a line chart, I think, and you can figure this out probably, that there are other types of charts, right? Area 3D, Gantt, area, bar, but we're going to go with line. The data source is the points. The argument scale is numerical. Argument data member is argument, because that's what this is. And the value. All right, well, I mean, supposedly I don't know anything about the chart control, so I'm going to keep minimal comments here to myself. So in theory, this should just work. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it does. Right? Mostly 0. And then we have these bumps and plots and blobs. And, you can see that the chart control is interactive. So if I hover over one of these data points, you can see what the value is. All right, let's go on with another feature. So let's ask ChatGPT how we can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. To enable zooming in and out using the mouse wheel on a DevExpress Chart control in the Windows Forms application, you can handle the mouse wheel event of the chart control. DevExpress Chart control offers built-in support for zooming and scrolling, but you may need to explicitly enable or customize this functionality depending on your specific requirements. Here's how you can set it up. Enable zooming. First, ensure that zooming is enabled on the chart. You can do this either through the Properties window in the Visual Studio Designer or programmatically in your code. Handle the mouse wheel event. All right, so here you go. Looks like we need to subscribe to the mouse wheel event. Let's do that. Oh, and initialize chart too. Initialization goes here. So I don't see anything about turning on zooming. So let's just use code. What is the code to enable zooming? Okay, to enable zooming in a DevExpress Chart control for Windows Forms app, you typically need to adjust the settings of the chart's diagram. For a 2D chart, this involves modifying properties of the XY diagram object associated with the chart. You can enable both axis zooming and scrolling through these properties. Here's how you can do it. Okay. So I'm going to copy this code right here. We're going to add this to our setup code. Let's do it right here. So it looks like we are getting the chart control diagram, which is a diagram class, as XY diagram. So this casts it to an XY diagram. Enable X-axis zooming is true. Scrolling, I'm not sure if I want Y or not. Let's just make it for the X-axis so far. Okay, now that mouse wheel thing, let's go back. All right, so let's grab this chart control mouse wheel. Take a look at what it's saying here. It looks like, and I'm just reading this for the first time, right? Looks like we have some red spots here. I'll figure that out in a second. So visual range, set minimum and maximum value. This is for axis Y. So remember, we're not doing the Y-axis, so let's just start by commenting that out. And now we're saying axis visual range length. Why doesn't it like length? Is there a size? No. So here's what you do when ChatGPT gives you some code that doesn't work, right? Well, you can see that visual range does not contain a definition for length. Okay. I'm getting an error on this line on this code because length is not defined in visual range. Let's see what it says. In a DevExpress chart control for .NET, the visual range length property indeed does not exist directly, as you might expect from the previous instructions. My apologies for the confusion. So it's backpedaling here. Okay. To adjust the visual range for zooming in and out based on wheel events, you should work with the visual range set min max values. Okay. So really all I want is for the x-axis. So I'm going to take this code right here. All right, so I don't need this apparently. And I can just do this. Here we go. Missing something here. Because we're going to ignore Y, which is this line, but not this line. Okay, so now let's see if the mouse wheel zooms in. No, it doesn't. Oh, you know why? Because we didn't actually add the line of code that hooks up that event. Now let's check it out. See? But we're not zooming Y, which is good. I didn't want to zoom Y. Oh, but it looks like it is zooming Y. Oh, I know what it's doing. It's scaling it because of the highest value that's on the screen. That's what it scales to. So that's pretty good, right? Okay, little housekeeping here. I'm going to make this form bigger. I'm going to adjust the font up. Yeah, let's see what happens. Yeah, that's better, although it's probably a little too big now. Now let's run this one more time. Just take a look at it in the right size. Okay, so this says My Series. I wonder if there's a way that I can show a label across the top. Well, I mean, I could put a label on it, but I think there's some text or something that you can put across the top. Let's see. How can I write some text across the top of the chart? It says I can use the chart title feature. Chart title can be positioned and customized in various ways to suit your needs. Here's a step-by-step guide on how to add and configure a title for your chart. Pretty simple. Oh, we can change the title's appearance and everything. Cool. Very good. And it says we could set the font and some other stuff too, right? Yeah, look at that. Color blue, alignment. Let's see. Good. Let's bump it up to like 16. And I don't like blue. I just like black, which is the default. Your chart title here. That looks pretty good. Okay, now here's another thing that we can do. Let's add a vertical red line at every point where we go from something to zero. Like right there, right there, right there, right there, right there. Okay. Oh, there's a complete example. This is all good, right? How can I add a vertical red line at each y value that is 0 after a non-zero value? See, the key is just in asking the right questions. And this is typically where people fall down, because they think, oh, well, you know, it can't possibly know that. How is it going to know? How can I be so specific? But the more specific you are, the better chance you have of getting some right stuff. So here it says, prepare your data, iterate through the data points, add vertical line annotations. So let's just copy this. Well, I don't want that because I already have that. So add vertical lines for, well, okay, whatever. We can take that out. So we have a couple new methods. We're going to get rid of that. So add vertical lines for 0 values after non-zero. Add vertical line annotation. And where is vertical line annotation? Vertical line annotation. Is that in... Oh, maybe that's why I need this. But I thought I would have already had that, right? Let's go back and add it to the top. Yeah, I already have that. So where is vertical line annotation? Well, it's not there. So let's ask this guy. Vertical line annotation is not defined. It's saying, here's an alternative approach. You could use the constant line class. Okay. So that looks good. So we need system drawing. We'll add that. And now we've got this one method. So we can get rid of both of these methods and replace it with this one. And it looks like everything compiles. So assuming your series has numeric arguments, x values, it looks like it's going through a loop starting from the second point, getting the current y value, checking if the current value is 0 and the previous is non-zero, create and configure the constant line, and it looks like constant lines add. Okay, that looks good. So let's call that right here. And that accepts a series. So that is the series that we just added. Let's try that. Nope, I don't see it. Let's check it out. F10, series, points, count, 0. All right, so points is empty right here because I think that data source is this list of data point. So what I really want is for this method to understand data points. And for that, I'm going to go back to ChatGPT and ask it to rewrite this using the list of data points. Can you please rewrite add vertical lines for 0 after non-zero using the list of data point that my data series actually is? And it says certainly. Here's the data point. We already have that. You can rewrite the add vertical lines method as follows. There you go. So now I just send in the data source. Right? Why try to figure out what it meant and fix it? Just ask it to redo it. Oh, I'll actually send in points because it's my list of data points. Okay, let's try it now. Damn. It did not work. Okay. Let's go back to the original order that I had and try it now. Ha! How about that? Okay, next, I want to calculate the standard deviation. Now, I don't know about you, but I barely remember the formula for standard deviation that I learned in college statistics class. But if you're a math person, you probably know it. Me, however, I need a little help. All right, so it's going on with the whole demo, but all I really care about is this right here. Calculate standard deviation. So that takes my data points, and all I'm going to do here is say calculate standard deviation of points, and I'll say var standard deviation is that. And here I'm going to say in my chart title, standard deviation. And then there we go. Okay, so I hope I have shed some light on how to program with ChatGPT as your assistant. Don't be afraid to ask specific questions. And particularly, when you're dealing with some new controls or some new tools that you're not very familiar with, you can not only use it as a learning tool, but it can help you write good code. Thanks a lot for watching.
Thanks for watching. Please visit blazertrain.com and the .NETshow.com for more great content.